I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
Tomorrow is Election Day. Are you ready to exercise your civic duty?
People go out and vote on Election Day. It's our most important franchise.
And today is All Souls Day. We'll take you to a special Mass.
We pray and gather together to pray for those loved ones who have gone before us.
Also, the life of one of our newest saints in the form of a musical.
When the canonization happens, not if, when it happens, we have to do something very special with this. We have to make Jean Jougat known to the world.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday. Well, tomorrow is Election Day, and if some local reports are reliable, many people don't even know about it.
That's right, and to get some more insight on this, earlier in the day I spoke with Monsignor Kieran Harrington, the Vicar for Government Affairs and Public Policy for the Brooklyn Diocese. And Monsignor Harrington is joining us now here in studio. Monsignor, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Great, great. Glad to have you back here. I think the last time I sat down and talked with you, we were talking about another election and the primaries, things like that. Now it's time for the general election. Still encouraging folks to get out there and vote. What are some of the issues that folks will be? Of course, there's the mayoral race tomorrow. What are some of the other issues?
Mayoral race, city council races, public advocate, controller, a lot of races in New York City. There's a special election going on upstate New York 23rd Congressional District. You have governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, so it's going to be an exciting day tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's an off year, but it's not really an off year, you know, as far as this goes. There's a lot going on here locally and regionally. What did we see last election, I think, back during the summer? What did we see as far as turnout goes? Do we expect that to increase this time around?
Turnout's probably, I would expect to be fairly low, unfortunately. And I think that one of the things that's really important is that people go out and vote on Election Day. It's our most important franchise, that we have. The candidates are an extension of ourselves. They represent us. And unfortunately, you can see turnout in the city, 8 million people in the city of New York, and there were 300,000 people plus who went out and voted in a primary election. That's all that was said. I mean, it's really a shame that that's what happens in our city.
Wow.
A lot of people accept themselves of their responsibility to vote.
Right, yeah, it never ceases to amaze how few people do vote, especially on off years, because people are like, okay, well, the election was last year, because I think in presidential election, well, it was last year, I don't have to get out there and vote, but it is a responsibility.
Huge responsibility. There are revenue issues that always come up when you're dealing with the municipalities. I mean, there are a lot of very important issues at stake. City council has a real impact on our life. I mean, it's not simply a job. A person doesn't get paid $120,000 a year for nothing.
Right.
They get paid a decent wage. I think it's actually closer to $90,000. But the reason why they're paid so well is because they design policies that have a real impact on our lives.
Right. What about this time around specifically? What are some of the races that we're closely watching, and maybe some areas? I mean, how would you encourage people, or for what maybe particular reason for this election would you encourage people to get out there?
The first thing is that the church doesn't endorse candidates or political parties, and that's really important for people to understand. I mean, we speak about values, and speak about values that voters should consider when they're voting on Election Day. In some races, especially when we get down to municipal elections, those matters are not the same big issues. The big moral questions are not the same at a local level as they are necessarily on a national level, right? Because the impact, the ability of local leaders to impact big policies are different. However, there are smaller policies which have a greater impact in a lot of ways on our day-to-day living. And so, for instance, one of the major concerns that we have are some issues now before the City Council in terms of green legislation and what that might be required of the church. I mean, there's certain revenue items that would have impact on the church. So, I mean, there are some real important issues at stake in this election, and people really have to do the research, kind of make sure they know what the issues are and go out and vote on Election Day.
Right. Well, this is something, now you kind of alluded to something that has to do with this a moment ago when you said that the church doesn't endorse any candidates or anything like that. Something that's kind of made headlines here very recently has been Bishop DiMarzio and his voice on these robocalls. Tell me a little about that and what you have to say about that.
I mean, there's really not a lot to say. What it's important to know is that The person who made the robocalls for, Vito Lopez, is not running for election in November, so he's not on the ballot this November. But he had been very, very helpful to us on a specific piece of legislation in the last legislative session, and the bishop thanked him for his support on that piece of legislation. And he did so because there were many of our opponents were out criticizing him. And it's important that when a person allies himself with you and is supportive of you on a particular issue, that you recognize that support. That doesn't mean we agree with Vito on all the issues. In fact, we disagree with him on some very important and critical issues.
Right.
But the important thing is that when someone does something which has cost them a great deal, you have to thank them, and that's what the bishop did.
Right, and just to refresh people's memory, I mean, he was when the marquee bill came out this past session, which you said as we talked here, felt and the church felt unfairly targeted Catholic schools as far as doing away with statute of limitations on old.
The fact is that Vito introduced legislation and was really critical in forcing an amendment to that legislation that would have not created two classes of victims, that would have said that all victims should be treated the same. There shouldn't be separate standards for children in public school and children in private or religious schools.
Right.
And I think
kind of leveled the playing field.
Leveled the playing field. And so, he took a lot of criticism for that, because there were a lot of people who wanted to make that issue about the Catholic Church, because basically there's an anti-Catholic bent amongst many of the intellectual elites in our society and in the media. So they wanted to make it about the Catholic Church. They fostered a lot of protest in front of Vito's office and saying all sorts of terrible things about him. And this was one way in which we could say thank you for what you've done on that important issue.
Right. Okay. And and as you said, may not agree with them on everything, but thank you for this specific thing.
That's certainly it.
Okay. Well, Monsignor Kieran Harrington, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Look forward to having you back again.
Matt, God bless you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Monsignor. Monsignor Kieran Harrington there. The polls are open tomorrow in New York, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Get up early. Stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead. When we return, we have the day's headlines, including a celebration for today. It's All Souls Day.
And the Vatican reaches across the universe to mark a special anniversary. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up a little bit later, Bright Light's Little Sister, a musical about one of our newest saints.
But first, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, today is All Souls Day, and the diocese held a special Mass in Queens, and we sent our cameras.
We are here in Queens, in Middle Village at St. John's Cemetery. The diocese arranges an event of the celebration of the Eucharist Mass for the people and their families who have gone before us in faith. And so we try to gain people to come here to express their faith, praying for their loved ones who have gone before them.
Today is special. It's a very special day for me because all my relatives have passed away. I have a lot of relatives that have died and who are here, buried here at St. John's Cemetery. And I like to pray for their souls, and it's a remembrance to remember them as they were in life.
This is a great Catholic tradition to celebrate on All Souls Day, the day after All Saints Day, and then we pray and gather together to pray for those loved ones who have gone before us, who died. It is based on the tradition of the Catholic faith that there is a communion of saints, that when we die, that while the body is lifeless, the soul continues in life, and that we believe they are prepared to enter into union with Christ, the risen Christ. But the issue is we're not sure, we have no assurance that the person was completely free of sin. And so we pray, and we can only pray here on earth for those who have gone before us in death.
Well, from the Vatican, the Pope asked that All Souls Day be lived in a genuine Christian spirit. In other news, the Vatican says celibacy is not a factor in the delay of a document on Anglicans wishing to convert. The cardinal in charge of the document says reports to the contrary have no substance, and the decision to accept married Anglican clergy would be made on a case-by-case basis. Meanwhile, the head of the Anglican Communion, the Archbishop of Canterbury, will meet with Pope Benedict later on in the month. It will be the first meeting of the two since the Vatican's announcement on Anglicans almost 2 weeks ago.
Well, the Vatican isn't only extending a hand across the Tiber, it is also reaching across the universe, as we hear from Rome Reports.
The Pope has opened the doors of his home to astronomers around the world who gathered in Rome to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the first telescope observations made by Galileo Galilei.
The International Year of Astronomy is meant, not least, to recapture for people throughout our world the extraordinary wonder and amazement which characterized the great age of discovery in the 16th century.
To mark the International Year of Astronomy, the Pope says knowledge of the universe should inspire people to admire God and the love for what He created. Benedict also said that on this year dedicated to astronomy, he seeks to emphasize the mutual collaboration between faith and reason. The audience with the Pope is part of the Congress organized by the Vatican Observatory, a place that has brought the world's leading astronomers to the Eternal City.
The Pope also expressed gratitude for the careful studies of Galileo and his original condemnation by the Church. From the Philippines now, the Church there has rejected a $2 million ransom demand for a kidnapped priest. Kidnappers reportedly released a video of the 79-year-old priest holding a recent copy of a Manila newspaper. In the video, the priest said that he was in good health even without all of his medications. In New York this morning, Archbishop Dolan was down on Wall Street, but not for morning mass. He rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Representatives from Catholic Charities were also on hand for that event.
Well, smiling and clapping, it's always exciting.
It's great.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up straight ahead when we return an around-the-world trip to save the life of a little girl. Healing a broken heart has taken on a whole new meaning for one Syrian girl.
It sure has. This young lady has been flown to Austin, Texas to get a life-saving surgery. And as we hear from Clara Tuma, the operation is being done, get this, free of charge.
To look at 5-month-old Zainab al-Hussein, you'd never know she's sick. But stop and listen to her labored breathing, and you'll know something is wrong. Zainab has a broken heart.
She has a hole in her heart. She doesn't have enough blood going to her lungs, and because of that, she's blue.
Her prognosis is grim, and that's why cardiac surgeon Kenneth Fox is set to fix the hole in a delicate surgery next Tuesday for free.
The repair that we're going to do will be to fix the hole in the heart and open up the artery going out to the lungs so that she can get more blood flow through her lungs.
And if all goes well, Zainab will be breathing easier next week.
It's a dream.
Zainab's mother, Iman Suleiman, traveled 2.5 days from Syria to Austin. Her host is Maya Hanadi, who lives in Austin and speaks fluent Arabic.
She's a very, she's a really well-educated person, and she knows about her daughter, and she really taking care of her in a very, very, wonderful way.
Hanadi translated for us.
In Syria, they weren't able to really tell them exactly what's going on with her condition.
She brought her baby to Austin to try and save her life through a group called Heart Gift.
Heart Gift is a nonprofit organization that offers free heart care to children in countries without the sophisticated medical care available here in the United States. Patients must be under 14 years old and have a heart condition that can be fixed with a one-time visit.
Most of these children would not survive into adulthood without these operations.
Mom Iman says she has plans for her daughter.
طبيبة. Doctor. Doctor for sure. وطبيبة قلب. A heart doctor, especially a heart doctor.
and looks forward to soon holding her baby, her only child, in silence.
Ya Allah. She said, dear God. I hope so.
Knowing the difficult trip to the United States helped fix both of their broken hearts.
Well, there are a number of Catholic parishes in Texas affiliated with Heart Gift and are helping to sponsor trips like that one.
Such a cute little girl, and just a terrible condition that she has. But it's great that they're doing this free of charge, and that's really a journey coming across the world.
Yeah, 2.5 days of travel. And the other thing is that, you know, this doctor, this cardiologist is donating his time and his expertise. They weren't really able to figure it out apparently in Syria.
Right.
It's so nice that not only is he, you know, able and willing to do it, but that they even found him in the first place.
Yeah, you look at the little girl too, and you're like, oh, you know, she's just so cute. And then you look a little closer, and you can kind of see that little blue tint to her skin, and then you know she's not quite like every other child. You would have thought
maybe she had the croup or something if you were just listening to her, but obviously it was something much more than that, so it's nice that they have a chance to get her heart fixed, and hopefully her heart will be all fixed up next week.
This is very true. More about it on our blog as well. currentsny.net is the address. Click on Riding the Wave for more.
And there is much more current straight ahead from Heart Gift to the Hidden Heart.
Coming up, The Phantom of the Opera, The Lion King, and Jean Gauguin? It's New York's latest musical.
Jesus Christ Superstar, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I'm sure you've seen some of these.
Oh, yeah.
And now, The Hidden Heart. It's a new musical about one of the church's newest saints, Jean Gauguin, the foundress of the Little Sisters of the Poor.
And to find out more about it, I spoke recently with Mother Margaret Charles, one of the Little Sisters from Jamaica, Queens, as well as Glenn Moore, one of the composers of the new musical. Well, Glenn and Mother, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Well, now, I know, Glenn, you got to go to Rome for the canonization. Tell me about that experience.
Well, it was really the chance of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime, and it was really amazing because our connection with the Little Sisters, the Glenmore Chorale, we have made a connection with the Little Sisters over the past 5 or 6 years, and we've become the house band, literally, for Queen of Peace residents, and we're doing a lot of things with the Little Sisters, and then they invited us to go to Rome for the canonization, and we were just thrilled to go. And we had the opportunity not only to attend the canonization and get pretty good seats, too, I might add. Yeah. We got to sing the 3 masses of Thanksgiving in the major basilicas of Rome.
It sounds like a wonderful experience. Now Mother, I understand that you didn't have the chance to go to Rome, but I understand that you had a great time here in New York. Tell me about your experience.
We certainly did. In each of our communities, one sister was chosen. We put our names in a hat to see who could go, so one sister was picked. But I was happy to stay home to make it the best day I could for our residents. And we started at 3:30. We got up, and we had invited our elderly residents to watch the canonization live with us. I was amazed at the number that showed up to watch it. Some of them were dressed in their suits. One of the priests had his cassock on. They were so into it. So we had some champagne and orange juice to start to toast the new saint. And then we watched it live, and the room was packed. There were so many of our residents with the sisters, so it was a great way to start. And then we had corsages for each of the residents. We knew that Jean Gauguin would want this to be a happy day for them.
Well, now, where did the connection come from between the chorale and the Little Sisters of the Poor? How did that start?
Well, we've been around for 20 years, my group. It's so amazing because this is our 20th anniversary year. And about 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking for some place to do something at Christmas time, and a friend of mine said, why don't you call the Little Sisters of the Poor? I bet you they'd love what you do. So I did. I called Mother Margaret Regina, who's the provincial now, and she said, oh yes, why don't you come? We'd love to have you. And we did that Christmas Mass, and then ever since, then we started doing more and more. And that's how it all started, our connection with them. And, you know, it's been wonderful.
It's been a great friendship.
It's a great friendship.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like it. And, of course, speaking of those performances, you've got one coming up here, pardon me, in just a few days. It's sneaking up on you here. And it's a big deal. This is at Lincoln Center. I mean, yes. This is a huge thing.
This is a huge, huge thing. Mother General Celine, who's the first American, if I'm not mistaken, she's the first American woman of the order to be elected the Mother General. And it was her 50th anniversary of profession. And she came back to Queens Village because that's where the novitiate is, where she trained, I guess, and she wanted to come back for that. So our friend Mother Margaret Charles said, could you do something, you know, for when the Mother General is here? And I said, well, I think we can. So we put something together very briefly and quickly. We only had a couple of weeks. You didn't give us much time, of course, you know. But we put it together pretty quickly, and sisters came from all over the country. And we had the opportunity to meet Mother General. And we did the performance. It's called The Hidden Heart. And it's about the life of Jean Jougan in music and, you know, like a regular musical.
Right.
And they loved it, you know. And they said, when the canonization happens, not if, when it happens, we have to do something very special with this. We have to make Jean Jougan known to the world. And then, you know, Brother Tom and a couple of other people said, you know, you need to do this at Lincoln Center. I'm going, of course, we'll do it at Lincoln Center. We will do it, of course. We'll do it at Lincoln Center. Not really knowing or expecting that it might happen, but then miracles. And then Francis McNamara was my co-writer, and we got together and we sat down and we added some more scenes, more songs. And like you said, it's a week away, or a little more than a week away, and it's pretty intimidating, but thrilling. I mean, I never thought that, you know, 20 years ago when we started, in our 20th year, we'd be doing this.
Yeah.
Yes.
How can people get tickets?
Well, the tickets are going very quickly. So if anyone would like to go, it's November 7th, Saturday, November 7th at Alice Tully Hall. The production is called The Hidden Heart, and it's the story of Jean Jougan.
And Mother Margaret, you're going to sing for us right now?
I hadn't planned on it.
I just want,
Holy Night is your big special.
I just wanted to scare you a little bit. That's all. That's all I had.
You did it.
Just got to keep it interesting.
That's
right.
it.
Of course.
Well, Mother Margaret, thank you so much for being here. Glenn as well. Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you very much.
appreciate
We
your
appreciate
time.
it too.
Thank you so much. To put her on the spot there. If you'd like to find out more about the musical, including how you can get tickets, call Glenn Moore at area code 516-488-0600. I've also written some more about it on our blog as well. Go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave in the right-hand part of the screen.
You're a big fan of musicals, and Lincoln Center, that's a big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you've got in the Broadway theater that's at Lincoln Center, you've got South Pacific, which is playing right there right now. So many events and things have happened there. So this is a big deal for them, you know. And they're playing in one of the theaters at Lincoln Center. It is this weekend. So if you want to get those tickets, you gotta go grab them, because they are. I mean, they're selling pretty quickly, as Glenn said. So.
Yeah, and it's so nice that they have all this original music. He was able to score it, and that, you know, like you said, miracles do happen. It's nice to see that there's variety, you know, because there are musicals out there for everyone, really, it seems. And you know, this one particularly about Jean Jougan, and you know, so nice that they've really found that she was that compelling a story to make a musical about, and really devote that kind of time and effort to.
Yeah, and you know, music is so powerful and can reach so many people in so many different ways, and a song that might not, you know, mean something to someone means something to somebody else, and so it's got a wide audience. So yeah, you're right. I mean, there are a wide variety of musicals, and I'm glad to have this one in the mix as well, to reach even more people and maybe make a difference in some people's lives.
I agree. Inspiration on the stage. Well, that is all of this, or for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, we have more music, and it's not Birdland, Daddy-O. I'm like trying to do this.
Wear a zoot suit.
Gonna put my little zoot suit on, my little flapper dress. It is a jazz mass. A mass, actually, Sunday nights. We have that and a lot more tomorrow. I went. Obviously, you can see I'm still a little jazzed up from it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Until then, remember, you can always catch us online. The address, currentsny.net.
I'm such a goofball. All right, you can also check us out on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/currentsny and become a fan. We post all our videos up there and have interesting blog entries. We want to hear from you. You can comment there as well. So for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime.
She's the goofball.
Yeah.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.